Entrepreneur Network. And as always, I bring in my big dogs. It's winter time. We got to bring the big dogs in. So let me introduce you to episode 35, starring Malik Champlain. So if this is your first time, I'll give you a rundown. I'm going to tell you exactly how I know this gentleman. Now, most shows you see, they will give you the scripted, Malik, you'll say, here's my bio. Nah, we don't do that here. I'm going to tell you exactly how I know this brother right here. So I will give my introduction. He's going to give his introduction. And then as you came in tonight, he's going to share his thoughts and his expertise on his topics. So let me get started. If you don't know, I'm Quentin McDougall, owner and founder of Nothing But Web and the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network, which you are in today. So if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or no one, got a sister, aunt, cousin, anybody that's starting a business, have them join the network. It's free. Because not only will you get exclusive content, you'll get to talk to brothers like this on a one-on-one basis within the network. So let me begin my story how I know this gentleman. So I've seen this gentleman out and about in the community, and as everybody knows, on social media. The biggest thing I hate about social media is that we think we know everybody in our brains. Now, a couple years ago, I would say 3, 4, 5 years ago, I came on with an idea. Let me highlight everybody that I've seen. And this brother, from the different business acumens that he have, I highlighted him maybe about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different times. And it was amazing because every time I would highlight him, it's a different business. So we're going to talk about the different businesses that he has. So whether it's Turo and his car business, whether it's real estate, whether it's ULeverage Capital, which you'll explain is that he started his own capital fund. He'll give all you that information that he's got. Whether it's anything, this brother does it. Now, we all can say to ourselves that, hey, on social media, we may click, like, share everybody that's here, but we don't know these people in public. So one day I'm out in Target, and I'm walking through Target as we all do, racking up stuff in the cart. And I turn to my side, and it was Malik. And I'm like, hey, Malik, it's me. And he was like, oh, Q, was you. And it's the first time we ever met each other. Now, like I said, I promoted every single business he had for 3 years, never met this brother in person. So once we met each other in person, we exchanged numbers, and then we ended up having a couple of business meetings. And now I'm proud to say that this brother is a genuine friend, just like everybody I bring in here. So, Malik, thank you for taking your time. Everybody that's here, thank you for taking your time tonight on a busy Wednesday night. I present to you episode 35, starring Malik Champlain, the one and only.
Man, Q, I appreciate you, King.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I definitely remember that time. I was running around chasing my kids. I got 3 of them. Running around and chasing them through Target, and and I ran up on you. So with that being said, if I have an opportunity to introduce myself, right? Like most times, I like to say that I'm the unwritten words of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. I represent the brothers that rock chains and those that write checks.
There you go. Talk to him.
So with that being said, first and foremost, before I give you titles, I like to first come from a place of place, name, and intention. So place, obviously, where my feet are is in Windsor, Connecticut. But place that I keep in my heart is originally, my family's from Brooklyn, and we moved out to Connecticut. So if I'm in the house, Brooklyn's always in the house. Secondly, name, Malik. My mom named me Malik meaning king. And that's something I always walk with, or always talk with, something that was always given to me and always put a battery in my back. So I know that whenever I'm in a place, I might be one person, but I represent 10,000. So then with that being said, my intention tonight here in this event is for us to raise the conversation, to elevate, to be able to, for me, not to just give you the juice, I want to give you the sauce, right? And with that being said, my name is Malik Champlain, and as in for titles, I'm a business credit coach. I'm a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor. I'm somebody who just compassionately curious, and I love climbing the mountain. And what I mean by that is that there are mountains that we're able to climb, especially when it comes to business. And business is like a Rubik's Cube. And for some of us, we're always frustrated when we are trying to solve the cube. But for me, as I'm solving the cube, as I'm solving the problem, I'm starting to understand. And I learned years ago that as an entrepreneur, your job is to solve problems. And when we started ULeverage Capital, we wanted to solve a larger problem. So let me first and foremost hop on here and make sure that I'm sharing my screen. And okay, so Q, am I good on the screen?
All set.
All right, perfect. So this picture right here, as you can see, this is my family. I am a Christian. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And with ULeverage Capital, what we wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that we're able to help you and people like you, right, elevate and leverage, right? Because first, you should always be leveraging in your life. Then we have to figure out how we can go to higher leverage. So then we can get to a place where we're at infinite leverage, right? That is the landing spot. When you start a business, regardless of what business you've started, you always want to ask yourself, right? You have to start with the end in mind. What's my exit strategy? What is the place? What's the promised land? Where do I want to go? So for us, what we do at ULeverage Capital, we help small businesses and business owners, right, obtain the capital and credit they need with expertise, help, and coaching. So what I wanted to do here today was I wanted to make sure that we went ahead and we covered a couple of things. So first, we want to cover the 3 C's formula that we do to help businesses go ahead and get that capital and credit. Then we're going to get money. We're going to help you get money and how you get money as a startup or as a business that's trying to grow and expand. So when I talk about expanding and being a startup, right, when you look at the numbers, between $0 to $23 million is considered a startup. Right. So I want us, knowing that, like, just because we say it's a startup doesn't mean it has to be little. It still can be mighty. Then we're going to move over here, right? And we're getting into how do you get finance regardless of personal credit quality. So when I say, right, we want to solve an issue, we want to solve the cash access problem. Right now, we are in a recession. Right now, more people have more personal debt than and credit card debt and all types of debt than they've ever had before. And a lot of that debt comes on your personal side because you use your personal credit card or use your personal funds to go ahead and start your business. And that jams you up. So what we're going to do is, right, we're going to solve a problem, and we have solved a problem, right, in multiple ways for people who might have some adverse business credit or personal credit, who might have little to no personal credit, and providing alternate ways to get funding and to get capital. So the information that this is not for, right? The information that you're not going to receive, if you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, this is not for you. If you're expecting for money to fall out the sky, right? If you think that money just grows on trees and that and the quality of work is not going to be there, that you're going to put no work in and you're going to qualify for funding, that's also not for you, right? If you're dreaming of starting a business, but you're not ready, it's not for you. I want to be very clear. Every conversation you have, and for some of you, I hope this is going to help you, because before I'm going to jump into the technical, but from the mindset, I want you to know, right? If you are not ready, that's because you're in that paralysis analysis. If you are not ready, it's because you haven't tapped in and understand your why. If you are not ready, it might be because you're in the wrong business field or you might be in the wrong season in your life. But I can promise you this: today is either one day or day one. And if it's one day, right, then I'm gonna be honest, right? Today's conversation is not for you, right? You can come back and you can go get you a mindset coach and you can go ahead and work some things out, and that's okay, right? But this today is not for people who are on the bench. Today is for people who want to get in the game. Today is for people who want to say today is day one, right? Matter of fact, last year, a couple years ago was day one. I'm tracking and I'm trying to take it to the next level. And if that's the case, right, let's talk about, right, I said cash access problem and how it's hard to get access to cash. What we know, right, and let's go and look at some data. Per the labor and statistics, we know that 50% of businesses will fail in 5 years or less. We know that, right? We know that 82% of businesses fail due to issues of cash flow, the money coming in and out your business. And then we have a staggering number of 90% of business owners that agree, right, that the availability of access to capital, right, is one of, if not the biggest problem that they're having. So let's keep moving. And don't mind me. I know I want to make sure I get as much in as I can, as fast as I can. So And if there's anybody who wants to follow up with me with these slides, I have no problem sending to you as a PDF. So check this out. Why do you need business credit? I wanted to make sure I answer that question, because some people like, I want to be all cash, right? I don't even want to deal with credit. Some people have trauma from credit because they were dealing with it wrong. The goal, right, like anything else, is you have to understand it in order to be effective with it. So let's look at this. You need it because you need to have higher limits and more spending power. If you're only working with $10,000, then you can't get to investing in your business the way that you need to in order to have an operating expense, in order to pay your accounts payable, in order to make sure that you can pay your employees, in order to make sure that you can scale your business, maybe gain some more inventory, maybe go ahead and grab computers and leases and things that you need and equipment that you need in order to be successful. You have to protect your personal funding, right? I told you earlier, if you are using your personal money or your personal credit towards your business, first you're commingling, then, right, which can hurt you with the IRS, with the court, and also in a recession like we're in now, I want you keeping as much of your personal capital in your bank, in your personal bank, and I want you utilizing the bank's money as much as you can, right? Instead of just having them leverage us, we need to start leveraging them. And then also lastly, right, you got to, right, there are tax purposes for this too, right? Tax purposes for the interest rates, tax purposes are the things that you can write off, right? So when we talk about having a Toro, having vehicles, right, things that are over 6,000 pounds or 10,000 pounds, having bonus depreciation, things that you can write off, being able to have, right, depreciation for real estate, commercial real estate, right, things that you can write off. But also look at the 3 myths. You need to have your business established for years. Personal and business credit are reported the same, and the way my business is set up doesn't matter. Those are 3 of the biggest myths that I hear. I can tell you, last year alone, well, I would say probably 6 months into this year, 6 months into last year, I really started ramping up a lot more of my consultations for this. I did about 437 consultations in that year, and these 3 myths kept coming up. So number 1, right? If you go to your regular bank, they're going to ask you, they're going to say that you need 3 to 4 years of business history, tax returns, $250,000 in gross revenue in order to get funding. That's where we come in and help you if you don't have those things. And most small businesses that are starting off do not have that. Then we get into, right, looking at your personal business credit. We know that those are 2 separate things, but also when banks fund you, they speak a different language based on whether it's personal or whether it's your business credit. And then looking at the way my business is set up, right, doesn't matter. Look, if you have a limited partnership, a general partnership, if you have a sole proprietor, those are not real those are not real businesses. I can't tell you too many of the businesses that I work with that are Cash App, Zelle businesses, right? Using some type of platform. Those are not real businesses, right? They say that over 90% of Black-owned businesses do not even have an employee, right? So we're talking about scaling, right? We're talking about the need to scale. There is a reason why access to capital is there. Now, get funding for your business, right? Let's talk it. What are the different ways of funding? I think that was another thing that I've noticed. Most people, when they line of credit, they want a business credit card, maybe some kind of loan. Sometimes they know about SBA loans, but still some type of term loan, and that's it. But let's go through it, right? And I don't have to repeat them, but let me show you. We got, right, like 15 different vehicles. I'm just showing you right now. These are not all of them, right? Revenue funding, right? Accounts receivable, purchase order, 401k financing and securities, commercial vehicles, stuff for inventory, stuff for equipment, stuff with the SBA, term loans, lines of credit. There's so much, right, and different vehicles that you can get put into, and they have different qualifications and things that you need. So with that being said, right, what are we going to do? Let's talk about the three C's formula. How can you know that you're going to get approved? What we do know is that clients that don't work with us, right, or work with a business loan broker in general, have a 90% chance of getting denied at first. Why? Because over 82% of banks they fail, they deny, they do not approve loans for individuals that come in, because those individuals do not know the right way to write down the things that they need on their cover sheet or on their finance sheet. That is going to make a bank look at them as low risk versus high risk. So this is what we come for the 3 C's. If you understand the 3 C's, that's going to help you know whether or not you can get approved. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Number one, here are the 3 C's: cash, right? Talking about cash flow in your business. 2, good personal credit. And then 3, right? Collateral. So if we're talking about cash flow, right? Here's a question I want you asking. And also, if you can take a screenshot, a picture if you want to, please do that, right? But these are questions I want you asking. Do you have consistent cash flow in your business? Do you manage your bank account responsibly? And when I say that consistent cash flow, right, that means, right, like you're having multiple deposits. So like I just sold a trucking company. When I had my trucking company, I had it for about almost 4 years. What banks loved in funding me was that I would get 6 to 7 deposits a week, right? That's every day. I'm getting deposits. They love that. I'm getting 25 deposits a month. They love that, right? They see the cash flow coming in. Now, do you manage your bank account responsible? I want you to know, right? Managing account responsible means that your account is never negative, right? You keep a minimum of $1,000. If you work with me, we like to keep upwards of $10,000 because we understand the internal bank rating. Now, what we know is that banks work at 90-day cycles. Now, I'm giving y'all sauce right now. So I just want to be very clear, right? So some of y'all might be listening. Hopefully you are listening intently, but I'm giving you the stuff that I have people paying me $3,500, $5,000, $7,500 for. So I just want you to know I'm doing that because Q's my man, right? So I need you listening. When I say your internal bank rating, right? And that if you keep $10,000 in your bank account, you leaving it for 90 days, you will get the highest funding, right? They call that a low 5, right? Doing that, right? Go and get your Navy Federal account, whether you got your Bank of America, whether you're, but going and doing that, right? That's the difference between not even getting approved, but getting the higher limits. Then we get into making sure, right? Do you have your tax returns? That's important, especially when you're getting that personal guarantee type of funding. Is your revenue and profits growing? That's another thing that I want you asking yourself, right? Hey, is this growing over time, right? Or is every year, are all 2 to 3 year tax returns looking the same? Here's the other thing is, stop listening to these gurus telling you to write everything off. Oh, well, I'm gonna pay no taxes. Look, if you're not at that place, you're not at that place. You have to have a certain amount to depreciate effectively, right? In order to be at a place where it makes sense for you to have $0 to write off. If not, you lying to the IRS, and that's gonna catch up to you. Or the other part is you're looking like you make no money, so you ain't getting funded anyways. Right? But here's some potential funding options. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, credit. Do you have good personal credit, right? Do you know the 5 ways they look at your personal credit, right? When you think about that, that's something for you to understand, for you always to be, you should be monitoring your personal credit. Now, if you only have a Credit Karma, that's going to be an issue, right? I want you to make sure that you don't just have something like that, that you also are thinking about, hey, look, I need something like, right, I got my Experian, I got my FICO.com, I got my, credit score IQ, right? Things that can tell you, right, your FICO 8, right? So you could really know, right, that, and you start to understand that there's an auto FICO, all these things that come up, right? Do you have a guarantor with good personal credit? So here's the thing. Some of y'all don't have good personal credit, but that should not stop you, right? I told you, when you're trying to climb the mountain, there'll be obstacles. So if you don't have good personal credit, maybe you have a guarantor. I could tell you, when I first met my wife, my credit was like a 525, right? But the Lord sent me an 802, a wife with an 802 credit score. And what she added me as an authorized user, right? So that's one thing that she did for me. And then immediately my score jumped up 120 points, right? So just thinking about something like that, right? Do I have somebody that can help me leverage? Do you have revolving credit with your history? Now, having some revolving credit is good. Being able to make sure, I could tell you that with my American Express cards and some other cards that don't hit me for a hard inquiry every time I ask for an increase, I ask for an increase on those cards every 4 to 5 months. So I'm always increasing that because I'm always using them and asking for an increase. So they do a soft pull instead of a hard. thinking about that, right? Also, if you have too much revolving credit, right, and that's the only thing you have to have you have to have more than just revolving credit, right, on your credit report, because if not, that's high risk. Because if you have $10,000 available in revolving credit today, tomorrow you can spend all 10,000, right? But if you have a home loan with some equity, if you have an auto loan with some equity, right, things like that, that helps, right, the diversity of what you have, right? Think about your inquiries. Try to keep your inquiries to 2 to 3. If it has to be 4, great, but 2 to 3 every 6 months, right? So that means what? You're going to be strategic in what you do. And then that's per bureau, right? So there's 3 bureaus. So you can get 2 to 3 per bureau. So if you know where they're pulling from, right? Once again, we're talking strategy. So here's some ways that you can get funded, right? Well, I want to make sure you had a chance to look at that. Now, personal collateral, right? Let's get to it, right? We were talking about having a guarantor, but I also want to know, do you have a 401k, a 403b, deferred comp? Do you have some type of IRA, right? Roth account, whatever you got that serves as a collateral. Okay. And there's some funding options, right? That certain people have. I know us as loan brokers that we have, where I see people pulling money out their 401k, which stops the forward momentum of their money, because then they have to pay it back, right? They take that money to go buy a house or to go pay for college, right? Right. Once again, business loan broker. For us, we found a program right out of California where what they do is they put a loan on your 401k. Now your 401k doesn't stop its forward momentum. It's still getting its yearly, yielding its yearly returns, and it puts a loan on it. So let's say you took out 60,000, right, to go do something. You now can pay that back. And when you're talking to me, I'm always going to tell you, hey, you should put that 60,000 into something, right? That's going to produce you money coming back. Right. So a good example is I had a probation officer. He had retired. He had some deferred comp, and he needed $75,000 for some equipment for him and his brother to start this construction company. It took him about 8 months to pay it back. Right. But we never stopped the forward momentum of his money. Right. And we go always talk more about what that looks like, but I just want to give that example. So look, you must have, right, to know whether you're going to get approved, you must have cash flow, collateral, or credit. Now, sometimes you don't have all 3, right? And that's why I gave you some of those other options, right? In case you only have 1 of the 3, 2 of the 3. But if you're 3 for 3, you're looking really good, right? But if you have 0 of the 3, if not that, business credit is your best option. I would say it would be the 4th C, right? the credit for business credit or corporate credit that you can get into. It is credit for your business that's connected to your EIN, not your social security number. So, and I wanted to lead us to, I know I was talking about personal credit and personal money, but if there's grants, look at those: crowdfunding, angel investors, venture capitalists, all that. And this right here is, this is the one you want to screenshot. This is the one that this information right here, right, looks simple, but it took me 2 years to get. Right, when business credit wasn't in 2017, 18, when it wasn't sexy, this is the information I needed to get. This is the sauce. When I said, not the juice, right? The juice goes bad, but that barbecue sauce, the hot sauce, right? The sauce lasts forever. So when I say that, right, let's set your business up to be incredible, right? Not even credible, to be incredible, right? So talk about funding. Number 1, your name. What type of name do you have? Look, some people got some personal names, some things that really mean something to them. Some people don't know what they don't know. The banks do not care. They're looking at risk, right? So when you put a name, make sure you check the name, right? I gave you a website there. You want to go to the Secretary of State to make sure. I saw somebody 2 years ago who had a whole business out of Hartford and then had to rebrand it because they was using somebody else's name. And they had already like made a name for themselves. They didn't check the Secretary of State. Make sure you do that. Check social media too, right? Because you want stuff that's easy for people to find you. Websites, GoDaddy, things like that. Entity, right? We already talked about that, right? Are you a LLC, a C Corp, or an S Corp? Here's the other thing. Your job is not to stay in LLC. Well, at least not be taxed like an LLC for the whole time you have it. So you have an LLC in the beginning, great. But once you start accumulating over $50,000, $60,000, talk with your CPA, But once you're doing that, that is a great time for you to start getting taxed. It's just an extra paper, right? As an S corp. Now, if you're taxed as an S corp, you're going to save more of the money because you're not paying for certain types of self tax. So let's move down to number 3, numbers. There's some numbers you need to have. Your EIN, if you don't know, it's a 9-digit number. That's like the social security number for your business. Then you need to go over to dnb.com and get your Duns and Bradstreet. Do not, they're going to try to make you pay $300-$400 for some type of other program. Don't pay for it. What we're going to do is you're going to be able to build business credit. And you can't build it unless you have your DNB. Why? Because DNB is connected, right, to your Duns and Bradstreet credit score. 4, your business phone number. Now, you're going to want to go ahead and grab an extra line at Verizon. You're going to want to use your regular T-Mobile, right? Some of y'all got that Metro PCS. What I want you to know is that if you have a voice over IP, right, this is going to help you. A virtual phone office, right? That's going to help you. Why? Because, I'll say no Google Voice, please, Lord. People don't even pick that up in general, right? They always think you're scamming. But for a business, you can just use that for you getting funded, but I just want to make sure you know that. And it's also going to help you with this, right? For me, when I have people helping me with my sales, like on my sales team, or I have other marketing and stuff like that, I have them making a phone call. They make that phone call from my voice over IP phone that has an app or you can get on your laptop, and they call from the laptop. Then it records the conversation. I then can do quality assurance on that phone call, that conversation, right? Things like that is going to help you as a business owner, right? You could go ahead, right, and go to Verizon and get a business line. That's different, right? Now, obviously, I put something in there as far as what it would take for you to get that. Now, your business address. People like the one thing you should not use is a PO box. I don't care what you're talking about. Do not use a PO box. Banks have a list of those. They know what those are. It's people like us. They're going to Google that, right? So then, now first off, you get no PO box. Now you can use your home address. I get a lot of us are working from home, but pay $30, $40, $50 a month and get you a virtual address at like a Regis, right? I got 2 of them over at the Regis here in Windsor, Connecticut, right? 360 Bloomfield Ave. I got 2 of them joints, right? So with that, right, go ahead and get you right, because now it looks like you have an office, right? And guess what? Even though you're at home, you don't want to look like a mom and pop. So we want you looking like a professional business. So that then leads us over here to your email, right? Your email, your website, your how you're branding yourself. You want to make sure that all is congruent, right? Throughout all your platforms. You don't want yourself looking crazy on LinkedIn and then Instagram, Facebook, wherever you at, right? Be consistent. Make sure that brand is right, but also, right, your email, make sure it's a support app, an info app, right? Don't just try not to have the Yahoo Mail and the Google. Some of y'all old heads got the blackplanet.com. We better than that, right? So go get you something professional, right? It's gonna cost you a couple dollars a year, but you'll be all right. Because we're trying to start a business and you want to get as much funding as possible. So this is the sauce. I'm telling you right now, that's the sauce, right? Big players, right? On the business credit side, Duns and Bradstreet is the biggest of them all. Experian commercial, Equifax business. You have some other ones that report up in there, and we could talk more about what that looks like, but I think that will go a little too deep for what we're doing today. I do want to remind you, right? There's other ways that they look at your business credit, but the number one way is your Paydex score, right? And you look at your Paydex score, right? That's not even going to pop up until you have 3 to 5 things reporting. Now, what I want you thinking about is your Paydex score. What is the Paydex score, right? What's the number range from 1 to 100? You want to keep it at an 80 or plus, and just remember, early is on time is late. I sound like my basketball coach. Early is on time is late. So each time you have a payment experience, you want to make sure that you're paying 3 to 5 days ahead. If you do that, auto pay, right? I read a book called The Automatic Millionaire. There you go, super smart. And then it's very easy for your business credit to grow, to double up, to speed up when you're doing that. Here, I gave you some, right? I told you the bank's about risk. High risk, medium risk, low risk. 80 to 100 is low risk. That means you're making your payments early or on time. Boom. Now you're looking at 50 to 79, right? You're 15 to 30 days late, 0 to 49. So for some of y'all who still rent and you pay your rent on the 7th, or you tell your landlord, man, listen, look, I got property, so I'll pay you on the 10th before you have to put a notice in. I'm just being honest. That don't work for business credit, right? You late. Instead, I paid on the 28th, right? So just something for you to be reminded of. And you know what? There's a lot more we can go through, but I'd rather us do this. Here's something that's super simple, right? Here's two things that you have. One, I give free information, so you get a free 4-step guide on my website. So go ahead and do that. And the other thing is, right, you can get a free consultation on what I just talked about right here. I have some more content, but what I would love is, Q, do we have some questions?
Yeah, we have a couple. So one of the first questions is, what do you think the difference is between what you get approved for with your personal credit versus your business credit? So that,
Yeah,
I'm assuming they're talking about amounts.
yeah. So what they tell you is that from your personal to your business, I can tell you this is that, so we have a program where we get people 0% interest credit cards up to from 12 to 18 months. So when we talk about for a credit card, especially because it's a personal guarantee, they're going to look at your personal side, right? Even if you're trying to get a business credit card, they're going to look at your personal side. So if you have $20,000 in funding already currently on your personal credit report, I can almost guarantee you I can get you between $80,000 to $100,000 of funding easily, because they give you somewhere around 4 to 5 times what you have been given already on the business side. So I would just that equation of about 4 to 5 times as much is the reason why business credit is a go-to, and that's what personal guarantee. Now, once you get your business credit up, your paydex scores up, your business credit has some diversity of loans under it. Now we're talking about, right, like you can get 20 to 100 times as much as you would on your personal side.
All right. And the next question is, what do they need to get started? What would you say the first 3 steps is to get started with their business credit?
Yeah, that was great. I would just go back to that list I gave you, right? Which is the first and foremost is the foundation, right? The foundation is the most important, making sure your business is credible. So go ahead, make sure your business is credible. Make sure your credit is right. I think working on that. And if it's not, then make sure your business is credible, and then make sure your business credit is right. Because when you get funded for your business credit, you can start off small. And I had skipped it, but you can start off at tier 1. So this is a pyramid of business credit. So you can start off and you get in Quill, Office Depot, Staples, Office Max, but you can get it under your business name. So when they say social security number, you're going to put your EIN number, and they're going to go ahead and they have these like starter vendors that you get. Then you go ahead and start to report. Then you go up to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And as you can tell, you're building your pyramid, right? So when you get to tier 4, now you're getting right lines of credit, access to cash. That's exactly what you wanted to do, but you still got the 500 credit score on the personal side. This is what I'm saying is business credit and knowing the formula to do it solves the cash asset access problem, especially, right, if you have bad personal credit. But if you have like good personal credit and business credit, now we on a whole different atmosphere.
All right, you can hit the next point.
All right, perfect. All right, so knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. So I want to sit with that African proverb. And, once again, right, the juice is temporary, but the sauce is for real. As an entrepreneur, right, and I was thinking about what I wanted to give y'all, and I wanted to give y'all this. Entrepreneurs, right, have an advantage over their competition. How, right? And how do you know if you have an advantage, right? Is that I want you thinking about what are your unique life experiences? What are the things that you currently do or have been through or have learned, right, that you can leverage? Do you have a unique life experience? Do you have strong leadership capabilities? Do you have job expertise? Some people are so afraid, want to run away from their 9 to 5 so fast, not understanding that they're actually, right, an expert at their job. And if they understood, right, one of my favorite books, Who Moved My Cheese? If they understood where they moved the cheese, where the cheese is coming from, where the money and cash flow is coming from, then they can go ahead and go start that business. Go ahead and go out on their own and be an entrepreneur. Or even being able, right, maybe that leadership you have at your business, you can team up with somebody else and bring that to a business, right? Your ability to assemble a team, right? I had a friend recently, he assembled a team. He grew a business from, right? They were making like $150,000, $200,000 a year. He moved them up to $2.3 million, right? Hired like 30 people, right? And then was like, yo, I gotta go out on my own. So 2024 about to be his year, right? But he finally realized after me beating him over the head, hey, bro, you have everything it takes. You have all the skill sets. Let them pay you to learn how to run a business. Come on, I'm preaching. Let them pay you how to run a business, right? But we want to jump out so fast. Take that information and then go do it yourself, right? The SOPs, right? The standard operating procedures, the way that they run their HR, the way that they hire and fire, right? I can tell you how so many entrepreneurs can't keep people, can't do stuff because they never hired or fired anybody. And when they want to first hire and fire, they want to do that at their own business. Do that at somebody else's. I'm just keeping it a stat. Now let's move over, right? Because here's the challenge, right? We're trying to figure out what can I do? How can I get going? Is recognizing your gifts, right? Recognizing where your gifts lie and finding a way to capitalize on them. So some of you are in a business and maybe it's successful, maybe it's not as successful as you want it to be because you're not working, right? In what you're skilled in. And what I want you to know is like what you're skilled in, what you can really make bread in is usually here are 3 signs. 1, you fly through that task with ease, right? So for some of you who are, right, you're 9-to-5ers at your job and you're 5-to-9ers on your hustle, right? Hey, look, there's something that you're doing where you fly through it, right? You might be asking yourself, maybe you haven't even jumped into really entrepreneurship, but what is that thing that comes easy to you but it's harder for other people, right? What's that thing that maybe people are constantly asking you for advice? Right? Like that's a real thing. Maybe that's something that you need to go into. And you frequently find better ways to get things done, right? You're more efficient, right? Your problem solving is at a whole different level when it comes to this. So then I want you to know there's no magic formula for being a successful entrepreneur. Those who do succeed tend to have mastered these sets though, right? So 1, good and effective communication. So I don't care if you got to go to Toastmasters. I don't care if you got to go ahead and take a public speaking class at the community college. I need you to be able to be good at communicating, right? Not when I mean good at communicating, you can talk, but you have to be effective in how you talk, right? Can you motivate your staff, right? Can you get to the point? Can you say what it is that you mean? Can you deliver your pitch? Can you tell people what your mission and vision is, right? That's good, effective communication. Being able to sell both yourself and your idea. Once again, communication. Look, this is people self-diagnose themselves as introverts and I'm shy. And look, don't let these labels frame you and keep you broke. The idea is that you in business, you got to be able to sell yourself and you got to be able to sell your product. And then you got to learn skills to be able to do that. Like sales is a skill, right? I remember when I was like running and I remember having some knee problems and I went to the physical therapist and they were like, oh, well, running is a skill. Like you just don't run right. I'm like, what do you mean? You just run. And it's like, no, there's a skill to running, right? So with that, there is a skill to selling and you have to develop that skill. And I told you, it's one day a day one. So here's the beauty of it. The way you develop is that you get that 10,000 hours in. If you do it one day, great. If you do 100 days, you're better. If you do 1,000 days, imagine how great you are. If you do it for 3,000 days, you're phenomenal. You have mastery, right? So, right, take the timeline and extend it, right? Being focused. What I mean, not letting shiny object syndrome get into your eye. And that has been a problem for me at points. But as I focused and became more finite in what is I want, where I'm going, I told you, starting with the end in mind, where are you landing this plane? You started this business, you do not know where you're landing. You just kind of like you're on for the ride. That is not the way that successful businesses go, because then you don't know when to sell, and sometimes you miss the window. right? Like I sold my trucking business because the numbers told me, not because I wanted to. The numbers told me, right? I had someone say, "Oh, Malik, I'm sorry you had to sell you." Why are you sorry? It made money, and when it didn't, it didn't. Right? I remember when we bought our first investment property. Right? My wife did not really care for the property. I said, "Baby, we not living here. Right? This is investment property. We're gonna fix it up and do the numbers work though, right? I know the cap rate. I know my cash on cash return. As long as the numbers work, I'm not here for the aesthetics, right? When we buy our home, right? When we build our home, I want you to be happy with that. But on the other end, no, right? Eagerness to learn and be flexible, right? Looking at that, right? That idea that you have to be able to learn and pivot. A question, right, for the group. I want you thinking about this. How many books have you read this year? We're almost done. And then also, like, I'm not talking about like you reading the coldest winter ever. I'm like, how many books have you read for professional development this year? If you have read less than 24 books, you are playing yourself, right? Congratulations, you played yourself. Right? When I look and I got hundreds of books, it's because I'm reading, right? I'm not just reading, I got audio books. You have to be informing yourself so you stay flexible, so you stay up to date, so you're innovating in what it is that you do. Because our job is to be the best and brightest, right? A solid business plan. Yes, start off with a SWOT analysis and then grow a real business plan, right? Do a real market analysis and operations plan, right? Go and look at what are my, like, what are the trends? What's going on? It's just because I'm good at it, just because I want to do it, is it a good time to do it? Is this the season to do it? Or maybe I need to hold off on that, right? Or maybe I gotta change. My plan was working before and now it's not, and I gotta be able to pivot, right? Where's my book at? I wish I just had it. I'll find it, but one of my favorite books, right, is Ready, Fire, Aim. Not Ready, Aim, Fire. Ready, fire, aim. That, guess what? Yeah, we're going to prepare, right? We're also prepare to win, but I'm not waiting for, we're not trying to be perfect, right? I'm gonna jump and grow wings on the way down. Okay, but I'm gonna figure it out. So some of it, you gotta figure it out. So if you're on the sideline, you gotta figure it out. The primary goal is to take action. That is the point, right? You can learn quicker and move quicker and be flexible and adapt and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So that means you're gonna have some bumps, you can take some L's, but we minimize those. But the biggest L is opportunity cost. What's the opportunity of you not jumping? What's the opportunity of you not starting? Right? And here's the thing. What's the regret that you get, right? You ever see something like, I know for me, I be having ideas all day. But I remember a while back, probably like 2016 or something like that, I had this idea for a business and I was sitting on it. And I'm like, one day. That's right. And when I was saying one day, somebody else said day one. And then I saw them start that business and be successful. And I just told myself, like, nah, that ain't it. I'd rather have the regret of taking the L and or betting on myself that I'll figure it out. So now what we do is we launch, we expand, we optimize, and we sustain, right? That's what you have to do, right? But we launch, so we launch. So with that being said, right, you have to be, right, are you an authority in anything? So for some of you, don't have like this big business plan, right? Like you're not gonna have a warehouse, you're not gonna have this big trucking company or some type of other agency. It's like some of you are the business. Some of you, right? Maybe you want to be a consultant, maybe you want to be a book writer, maybe you want to be a speaker, right? But okay, great. What are you an authority in? What are you an authority in? Right? So I want you to look at these four things, right? Focus on a niche. And when you look at the industry, right? When you focus on a niche, what are the gaps? Right? What is the gap? I told you, we started, there's other business loan brokers, but we're the ones that go ahead and say, even if you got bad credit, we can rock with you. Right? We the ones that go ahead and make sure that, especially for Black and brown businesses, we're gonna rock with you. Right? What's your unique selling position? What's your unique skill? What can you offer customers that other people can't? Is it the type of service? Is it the type of, like, what are you doing that the market isn't doing? But guess what? You got to do an analysis for that. What's your ideal client? Do you know, right? Who is your client avatar, right? Have you drawn them up? Have you given them a name? Have you sat there and done a problem statement really ask yourself, how am I solving their problem specifically? And that's very micro, but the closer you get, right? Like I like going to the gun range, right? And if you aim small, you miss small. If you aim small, you miss small, right? What problems or needs, right, do your customers have, right? Or what problems needs do they share with you, right? Where do you connect? I think that's extremely important. Choose the right channels, right? Where are you? Your people are posted places. You have to post your content and information at those places, right? So if I'm posting everything on Instagram, all my people are on LinkedIn, then I can't get my message to them. So I want you thinking about that, right? Where do your people spend their time at? What is your community? The people that you're looking, right? You're looking for people looking for you, but you got to figure out where they're looking for you at, right? Where the cheese at, right? Where they at? Where's their attention at, right? Is it on Twitter, right? Is it on YouTube? Is it Snapchat, right? Is it somewhere else? Where is that, right? Provide value. You want to be an authority? Provide value and be consistent, right? Before I launched my book, for 47 weeks in a row, I put out content 3 days a week, right? And then I had a humongous crowdfunding and book signing that was great. And this was back in 2017, right? So I want you thinking about that, right? Provide value, but what are you providing that, right? What kind of value are you providing? Is it books, ebooks, regular books? Is it videos and webinars, social media? Do they need a checklist? Do they need a podcast, a blog, an infographic? And here's something I want to get you, right? Is that one of my favorite books right now is $100 million leads. And I'll give you a quick thing from that. Make your free stuff as good as other people's paid stuff, and you'll see the people flock to you. Because professionals get paid in the back end, right? Professionals get paid in the back end, amateurs get paid up front. So when I'm giving content, I get all the time, yo, some people who do the work that I do, like, why are you giving so much content, right? Like, we get paid for that. Why are you giving that out? I'm giving the sauce, right? And then the other thing is, well, what do you sell? There's certain things that people reach out to me and I sell and I do well with it. But my thing is, if I wait to ask instead of asking every time, if I wait, that law of reciprocity is that they're going to ask me as I'm giving them content, giving them stuff that's really helpful, that's actually providing value, and I wait for an ask. The more I wait, the more I can ask. Then when you drop a program, when you drop a online course, when you drop something, you have so much built up goodwill that people feel like they have to buy from you, right? That happened with me with Alex Hormozy. I bought 3 of his books, right? When they dropped, I was like, oh, I need 3. I have to buy these. You've given me so much free game. And then lastly, build relationships with experts and influencers, right? There's people who are doing what you do, right? And you need to be connected with them. You need to be where they're at and then be able to show them and connect with them. And then some of the cross target audiences, this is great. But people who are adjacent to your business, people who have similar businesses, that's going to help you build relationships and be in the right places for you to elevate the conversation and elevate yourself. All right, Q, do we have any other questions?
One question from YouTube. What's one challenge that you had when you started your business, your first business?
Oh man, my first business. I could tell you this. I didn't understand how I did. Well, one was I didn't understand how banks worked. Um, I have equity in my house. I didn't understand credit like that, so I didn't understand debt to income. And I wanted to pull out some money to go buy some more real estate in one of my properties, but all my money was in the walls. And what I mean by that is all my money was in the equity, but I couldn't get to the equity because my debt to income was too high, right? So you want to keep your debt to income, right, clearly below 35%. Mine was upwards of like 55, 56. But I was making all my payments. My credit score looked good, right? I was over a 750, but my debt to income made me high risk because I didn't think I was risky because I was getting all this rent, but I had all these properties under my personal name. So what I learned very quickly was that I had to go ahead, refinance a couple properties, put them under some LLCs. And then the other thing was I had to learn how to I had to learn personal credit and then move over to business credit to understand they're thinking of low to high risk. They're conservative at the bank. And I had to learn that like figuring out their language was the only way to move forward. They weren't going to go ahead and change for me.
Very insightful. Anyone in the chat with a question, don't forget you can feel free to leave your questions in the chat and I will ask you directly for them. So Malik, I think we can wrap with your last point.
All right, all right. So my last point is this, right? The realization that time is finite is a pivotal moment for any entrepreneur and for your mindset. So like, once again, I told you I had started to realize that like, if God gave me an idea, it he let me borrow it, and if I didn't act upon it, he was going to give it to somebody else. But really, that helped motivate me to move and act upon stuff. But my idea that like time is finite is that there is an opportunity cost, right? To not using your time effectively and efficiently. Because if you're not, then you're missing out on the higher leverage. So the example is, um, so I would tell you is that if you're a technician and you're always a technician, that means you're always working in the business. You can never work on the business, right? So for any of us who are working in the business, it's hard for you to work on it because you're trying to solve all these smaller problems. The problem is that those problems are so small, and sometimes we're too greedy, or we don't have enough access to capital, or we haven't gone and promoted our business enough, or we're making enough to generating enough to hire somebody, or we don't have the structure to hire somebody, or we don't understand delegation. And what I'm getting to opportunity cost is this. If I'm too busy doing the lower level stuff, I can never have and create and facilitate the $1 million idea. Won't happen. So the impact on your decision making, right? You start to understand that I have to make decisions faster, and I have to be able to not sit around and wait. Your strategic planning and goal setting, right? Is that now you're working on the business. If you're able to work on the business because you understand time is finite, now you're able to plan and set goals, right? You're able to have mid-year reviews, right? Monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, weekly meetings. You're able to set up the structure of your business. Where do we want to be at the end of the year? What's the theme? What are we working on? Like all this stuff, right? How can we be more efficient, right? I remember at one point I was working on a trucking business and I was looking at my gas bill and I was like, hey, there's a discrepancy over the last quarter. And I started looking and saying, okay, so I instituted a policy that no one can drive over 65. And then, right, the manager that I had was like, hey, your job is to look at their mileage to make sure that they're keeping the trucks under 65. Because what I learned was that as the trucks were going 72, 74, they were eating up a lot more gas. But under 65, I was saving thousands of dollars, right? Which jumped up my ROI, my return on investment. So for me, right, I couldn't do that if I was too busy managing and trying to dispatch the trucks, right? So looking at that, productivity and efficiency, adaptability and learning. Like I want to be clear, like reading, right? There's certain magazines I'm subscribed to online. There's certain events I go to, round tables I'm at, business meetings that you have to go to learn and grow and have mentorship, right? And I'm somebody who pays a lot for mentorship, right? For real estate, right? Like I paid $25,000 to be part of this traveling real estate mentorship group, right? That really helped me as an investor. I paid $10,000 to be a part of this trucking company, $7,500 to learn about mobile homes and the different types of stuff like that. So what I'm saying is that, right? But you can't go and then go and teach yourself and learn and be in places to learn those things if you don't understand that, have that mindset about time, right? And then lastly, right, everyone, family, man, family and self-care. Some of y'all are killing yourself, right? Because you see the dream, you want the dream, you want it so bad, but what you're not understanding is that you're putting it above your health and your family. And I've been that guy. I don't have the time because I'm chasing the dream. I'm grinding. You're gonna grind yourself out of a marriage. You're gonna grind yourself out your kid's life. You're gonna grind yourself out relationships that bring life to you. Because that's not why you started a job. But if you have a strategy, you might say, look, I'm gonna put my head down till I come up. That means I'm gonna put it down for about 2 summers, right? I'm gonna lock in for the next year or next 6 months, whatever it is, right? But I have an end to it. And at the end, this is what we're going to do. This is the product I should see that's going to allow me now to hire 2 more people and gain 30 hours a week back of my life, right? To gain more capital and money, to be able now to be around my family and do the things. So I'm not saying don't make the sacrifice, just don't make it a lifelong one, right? Have a plan, right? That gives me my time back so I can then take care of myself. Because if I'm a sharper blade, I cut different, right? We move different. I'm more effective. But here's some skills, right, on optimizing your time. So one, right, identify high impact tasks, right? This was something that was very important to me in the last 3 years, especially getting into 2020. So when I'm looking at those high impact, what are the higher impact things for the goals of the business? I told you the $1 million ideas from the neck up. Me driving a truck isn't it. Me swinging a hammer on a real estate property isn't it. Me like I don't even do the coaching anymore for ULeverage Capital, right? Like I have a team for that because me being able to grow the sales team is more important, right? That idea, focus on activities that contribute directly to the growth and bottom line and revenue of the business. What are the most critical challenges that you can solve in your business, right? Second, one of my favorite, using the Eisenhower, right? And really looking at what is urgent and what is important. What do I have to keep? What do I have to delete? What do I have to delegate? Excuse me. And some things you just got, right? What do I delegate to somebody else? What do I delete in general? What's important? What's urgent, right? And that quadrant. Um, and we talked about again delegating, right? Know your strengths. One of the powerful things. You can't do it all. And for some of us who are really good and you're talented at multiple things, great. Focus on something and say, this is what I'm going to be the Michael Jordan of, the LeBron James of, right? Do it all in that, right? Know your strengths and then know the strengths of your team. So you hiring those things, right? And then as you're hiring the things that you're not strong at or that you don't like to do, then, right, once you get that working, the last piece of that hiring, right, to have a real business is to hire somebody to replace you who does the things that you do, who duplicates the things that you do. And sometimes it might be two people, right? A mentor told me one time, he said, look, that person's not going to do as good of a job. That's why you hire two of them, because that person might be 70%, the other person 70, their 70 is 140, which means even if you're given 100, right, their 140 is going to be better than your 100. And now you can what? You can grow another business, or you can go ahead and work on the business and make it even more efficient. And lastly, time blocking, right? I think this is man, listen, on my phone, there's times where like when I'm locked in and I get into like my deep dive, right? Only God can get in contact with. Nobody can, because I'm so locked in and using all my attention and focus on this dedicated block of time on this activity that's strategic for my business or businesses, right? And you have to guard those things. You have to guard your time because everybody wants it. When you make money, the one thing you learn, when you make a certain amount of money, everybody wants to take it. Everybody wants like one piece of it. Hey, invest with me, do this. The government wants it, right? So you're trying to figure out taxes. Everybody wants it. And when you at a certain level in your business or your mentoring and stuff like that, everybody wants your time and you have to guard against distraction. And I want to make sure I remind us of that. So with that being said, let's make that my landing spot. And hopefully I tried to give you everything I got.
Malik, you did it again. You did it again. You did it again. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. Feel free to put them in the chat. So Malik, we the co-host. I'm gonna have you stop sharing my screen so we can have our candid interview that we normally do about that time.
Yeah.
So the first question, someone asked in the chat about the book that you mentioned about the cheese. What book was
Who Moved My Cheese?
Who Moved My Cheese? So if you're an entrepreneur, make sure you get this book right here, Who Moved My Cheese. So my first question for you, what's one book recommendation you have for any entrepreneur? They're starting out, they can build a business 10 years. What's your favorite book? What would you recommend?
I'm gonna do two though. I'm gonna
That's
break the
fine.
rules.
You know,
So
we do
one
our
is
book
going to be
battles.
so one is going to be right from a technical lens. You have to read profit first. I think the idea is that either you're a top line entrepreneur or bottom line, right? And so many times we learn top line how to make money, how to generate sales. I love that stuff, right? Like that's the stuff that gets you going. right? Marketing, sales, right? Getting out there and getting it, closing deals, great. But bottom line, right? Now that you have the money, can you save it? Right? Like, so one of the things I remember going, right? And it's very similar to the book, but like I remember going to my accountant being like, hey, I made, $60,000 this year doing this and that. And it's like I got $6,000 in the account. And I'm like, where the money go? And when you, right, if you don't, you can't manage what you don't measure. And what that book does is gives you a framework for that as a small business, as an entrepreneur, to understand the difference in managing your P&Ls and the different things that you have going on in your accounts in your business, so that you pay yourself first, but you also know exactly where the money's going. Like I love that. And then my second book, which is like, man, I read it a long time ago, but it's my favorite, is The Go-Giver. And that's more of a mindset, like just like Who Moved My Cheese, you'll read it in a day, but The Go-Giver, right, and the 5 astronomical laws of success, right? I live by them, right? So I'm always looking to give more than I receive in payment. I'm always, right, something that we talked about in scaling, right? You want to increase the number of people that you serve and the value in which you serve them. And then I'll just highlight the last one, which is, right, the law of reciprocity, right? I don't, right? Gary Vee might tell you, if you give 3 times as much, right, to your community or to people, that they'll then feel like to give you 1, right? And I just take the idea that, what happens if I give 100 times? What if I just keep giving and don't ask? I just keep giving, I keep giving, I keep giving, I keep giving, right? And it's just, you're going to find a way to give to me. And that's kind of how my life has been.
Great tips. Great tips. Speaking of tips, what's one tip that you have for an aspiring entrepreneur, or one that's just stuck? A lot of times when we're entrepreneurs, we hit that wall, we hit that time, and it's just like we don't know what to do. So, what's one tip that you would use to get out of that? Or if you were starting, what's one tip you would start with?
Well, number one, like, you already have the passion, you have the idea, you kind of know what you want, but understand the business of business. And I think that that's extremely important. You have to study the business of business. So I'm big on like being a lifelong learner, but like, get you a coach and a mentor. You cannot be cheap, right? And I guess the number one tip is that you can't get my 20 years of doing business, right? But you can buy it in a book. You can buy it in my mentorship. You can buy it in an online course, right? You can buy it in proximity, right? By learning from my mistakes, and then also leveraging in your partnerships and who you're closer to, like those mentors. My guy Demetrius, right, Chambly, he always says books are his mentors. So if you can't get to the person, get to the book. But if you can get to the person and you can invest, right, into a mentor that you have done your homework on, I promise you, right? When I got into trucking, I know nothing about trucking. Can't drive a truck, have no trucking uncles, I just knew the returns were there, right? I just don't got it, right? And be like, well, why are you? Look, I paid $10,000 to be in this program, right? I followed the guy's stuff. I bought his book. I bought the $1,500 program. And I was like, look, I'm gonna put the $10,000 in because I'm ready to execute, because I believe in myself, right? If you pay $10,000, you don't execute, that's on you, right? But within 4 months, he had me up running, and the first month we made $28,000. Right now, I netted about 14 to 15%. Right, what was my net income? But that's our first month, right? So when I'm coming back and my cash on cash return is 65% on the first month, like, you can't beat that. So it's getting that mentorship, and if you can't get to the person, right, read those books, like I told you, your books and your mentors.
So, with you being a mentor, what's one mistake that you think entrepreneurs usually make? As you being a consultant, I'm a consultant. What do you think the one mistake would be that they make when they first start out?
They make decisions off emotion, not logic.
Go.
Right? So I get a lot of the I get people calling me afterwards where they spent all their money or they close to it. The credit's crap now, but it used to be good. uh, they want, like I said before, they want the rhythm, but not the blues. Like entrepreneurship, like you've chosen the hardest road. Now the hardest road, right? Like wide is the gate, narrow is the path, right? Like there is something to that, but that path's going to have like thorns. It's going to be uphill. It's going to be so the biggest thing is that they've told themselves a lie about what entrepreneurship. They haven't done the homework, right? Is that I'm going to invest. I'm going to see something. I'm going to believe in a dream that no one else can see but me. And if you're looking for cheerleaders, you're in the wrong place. And you have to push and persevere, but you have to do your homework, fam. Do your homework on your market. Do your homework on if this is going to work. Go ahead and don't quit that job so fast, right? Because that W-2 is going to help you get some of this funding, right? Think about what your life plans are. You quit your job to be an entrepreneur, and then all of a sudden now you want to buy a house. Now you can't buy a house. Now you stuck. You can't get an apartment because you ain't got no paycheck coming in, right? Once again, you put yourself in a position to not be successful, not understanding that, yes, you might not like your job, but your job is your number one investor. So when you stop being emotional about your job and you show up and you structure your personal finances in a way where you now are saving that money, and that money can give you 6 months, 12 months of reserves, now you can go make that decision, right? To go chase it. But for those of us who are too scared to go jump, I promise you this, you never want to be a shell of the person you were supposed to be. Because at the end of the day, right, when you on your deathbed, right, you're never going to be mad at the shots you took and missed. You're going to be mad at not ever taking the shot.
Another amazing tip and advice. And my last question before we wrap tonight, again, thank you everyone for staying for the overtime session. We get with overtime. I think you hit the mark, Malik. You hit the light.
Yeah.
Listen, like I told him, and most people that have been here before, every speaker I have come in, I only ask him for 15 minutes, and look what he gave us for the presentation. So my last tip, you started off your presentation showing your family. With me, family is big, married, kids, just like myself. So for those entrepreneurs out there in those relationships, because being an entrepreneur is like a whole nother relationship within a relationship. So what's one tip you have out there for those couples or those people that are just getting in, long time married? What's one tip you have with the work-life balance or the balance between, giving family time and your business time?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, one, I have no secret pill for you. But what I can say is that there was a time early on when we were first married, right? So I'm in my mid-20s. And my wife kind of was like, fam, you hanging out, like you just hang out with the boys? Like, what you doing? We got a newborn. Like, I got real stuff going. Take the time to communicate. Even you got to repeat yourself, even you got to, but communicate from a place that's real. And if this is really what you want to do, the reasons why you want to do it are deeper than just the bread. It's not the vacations. It's not and those things are nice. But I hear a lot of like the generational wealth, a lot of the I want to be able to provide this and that. I just remember communicating in a way where, and it was like, and I got to a place where I kind of understood my own thoughts and having time to really process and just being able to communicate in a way of just like understanding, like my wife knew me. My wife would drive 2 hours from Manchester, Connecticut to Boston to come see me when I was living in my car. A 98 Maxima, 230,000 miles, trunk didn't lock. I had everything I own, right? Sleeping in my car. She would come see me. She had educated, got her own job, living in a nice part, right? Doing the whole thing. But this is somebody who believed in me, right? Like when I didn't believe in me. So when I explained it to her, like, I can go do this 9 to 5 thing, right? And I could give you the bare minimum of what I want to give you. Or I will do everything I have to do. Late nights and early mornings. Now, I won't sacrifice the fact that I still want to put my kids to bed. I won't sacrifice the fact that I still want to drop them off at school. I still want to make things like, I'm not sacrificing that. Because I can get to where I want to get to faster. But I want to get there faster. If I get to being where I want to get to, right, faster, but I can't bring my family with me, I don't want it.
Talk about
So
it.
as long as she knew that, right, we was good. But she had to also understand the fact that like I'm good with $40,000 in like a D3 basketball coaching job. But like you believed in me when nobody else did, so I got to give you the world. And I'm not stopping until I do. But when I expressed it like that, that gave her a better understanding. But I also had to leave room for her to express her feelings and for us to come up with something that worked. And just because it worked didn't mean it didn't suck at times. And then there were seasons, right, where I had to like put a pause on a lot of things I was doing. But I had to respect the fact that you always get like what's more important, right? Because at the end of the day, like I gotta have a house but not a home, right? And I don't got to, I get to. So for me, it was like I could get there faster, but I promise you, I'd rather get there together.
And with that note, Malik, tell them everywhere in the world that they could find you.
Yeah.
I got deep on you on that one. I got deep on you.
Yeah. Let's go to Instagram. You can find me at Leverage with Malik. You can find me also at ULeverage Capital, right? Me and my team, uleveragecapital.com. I had given you a QR code and a couple of things earlier, so you get your free PDF. If you hit me up and DM me on Instagram, I promise you, I'll have somebody from my team hit you up and we'll get you a free consultation. So if you have questions about today's whole presentation, hit us up. If you're thinking about business credit, expanding what it is that you're doing, hit us up. Let us know. We're here to serve you, and I can promise you, I did not that year I did 437 consultations. I did not work with 437 people, but I can promise you one thing: 437 people left better than what they did when they called us.
Love it. And while we're here, the best way you can also find Malik, I'll share my screen real quick, is the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. So as you can see, www.nothingbutwebllc.com. All you have to do is come to the network, and then we got this brother right here. So you can reach out to him, send him a message, follow him, definitely follow him because he's delivering amazing information. If you took anything away from tonight as far as what he gave you, definitely follow this brother right here. So definitely follow him and within the network. And if you aren't a member, make sure you join, sign up for free, put your profile picture in, and you can be smiling in your picture just like Malik right here. So any last questions from the chat before we wrap for tonight? If you don't have a question, please put an emoji in the chat. Put an emoji for the chat, because as he started, the people that I bring in here, they do it for the love, they do it for the friendship. I know their passion, and they do it for free. They do it for free and they do it for me. So Malik, with that being said, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you everything you provided for us. As we talked about in our pre-meeting, the 2024 plan that we got rolling out.
Yeah.
For those of you behind the scenes that don't know, I showed Malik. When I started this network, I had 11 people on the board. I got 2 more people left to cross off. Malik was definitely one of the brothers that was on the board that I had. He's on the big board. So again, if you're not a member, make sure you join. Follow Malik Champlain. This is episode 35. YouTube subscribers, click to subscribe. Smash the button, as they say. I don't know.